Hello, everyone. This is Chris and Sandy with Parenting Autism. We hope you're having a great day out there. How you doing, Sandy?
I'm doing well, thank you.
What's on our agenda for today?
Well, episode number 27 is going to be really how we have processed the 5 stages of grief on our autism journey.
Okay.
And the reason why this has been playing on my mind is because I feel like recently, in the past few weeks, we've had a lot of things that have been going on in our world.
Yes, indeed.
And it feels like some of the similar feelings that I was having when he was first diagnosed and we were trying to figure out the roadmap on this plan. I feel like we've had a lot of changes lately that kind of have brought out some more emotions and feelings in me that I didn't realize were there.
Awesome. I think some listeners probably heard the surprise in my voice when you said what we were talking about. And the truth is, I always tell Sandy when she has ideas for the show, just let me know what they are when we start. That way I'm not thinking about them. I can just give my answers right off the cuff. And
yeah, because we want this to be fresh and we want this to be real. In fact, when you and I go out and we do start talking about something and I'll be like, I'm thinking about this for the podcast, and we'll start talking and we're like, whoa, don't say any more. Save it, because we want it to all be fresh and not get all our opinions out. But this one's really been weighing on me. And actually, we haven't done a podcast for almost 3 weeks now. And for me, I was telling you last night, I feel like I have so much built up in me. And you were saying...
Your brain gets clogged.
Yeah, and as you said, and I'm like, I feel like I need to download the information somehow because it builds up. And because of all the stuff that's been going on in our world lately, I feel like we have been passing in general. Yes, we can say, hey, how are you? How was your day? But we haven't been able to go into much of our deeper emotions or how we're feeling and how we're doing. And sometimes this podcast, when we're doing it once a week, gives us that opportunity to do that. But when we go 3 weeks without really being able to share that together, it builds up in me to where, I start to feel a little bit sad and I start to get emotional. And today I could tell after having a long discussion last night, because we had the gift of time together while someone took care of Bryce, I felt like a much lighter weight today was on me. And, my spirit was so full of joy again. And I could feel that difference. And I know that getting to share this podcast and kind of going through this is to help others as well, because sometimes we don't recognize even what stage that we're in, with this whole process.
I think... we've had a lot going on, obviously, plus included with that is sickness, and I'm finally feeling better to where my head is clearing. And, being sick and having a child on the spectrum in and of itself is difficult. You have to lean on each other when that happens, and fortunately, we're not all sick at the same time most of the time. Usually one person gets it and then the next person gets it. And then, the past couple of weeks, it was you and Bryce that were definitely down. And, people were wondering, well, what's been going on? You might be wondering that. Just in like headline format, not all the details. But Chris and Bryce both got really sick. Bryce had an ear infection that came with a fever and also triggered his asthma, and he was on breathing treatments multiple times a day for more than a week. And then on top of that, Chris was very sick with a horrible sinus infection that was, as soon as I would get home, he would be down for the count, understandably, so that he could rest. And we're trying to take care of Bryce and trying to take care of him. In the meantime, the last episode was very fresh off the
taking Bryce
Homeschool.
out of school
Yeah.
and starting homeschooling. So we've been trying to figure out what we were doing with that and what kind of curriculum we would have.
Hey, now we're 3 weeks into it.
I'm telling, well, and 1 week into the curriculum,
Right.
but 3 weeks into the homeschooling. But that's a big difference because
Sure.
this week you actually had a curriculum to follow, which is very different than not knowing what to do and me trying to patch something together for you
Yeah.
so that you could keep him in a routine and keep him learning. And we didn't know where he was and what he knew and what he didn't know.
I think it was last
really.
week I did all the research on the curriculums, and I finally settled on the one.
Right. So, so Monday we were able to start a curriculum, but I'm just saying, starting homeschooling, trying to get a curriculum, having 2 out of 3 of us down,
Yeah.
at the same time starting occupational therapy and language therapy again at a new place with new therapists for Bryce. His anxiety levels been through the roof because
Yep.
it was all unfamiliar to him, and he's been very resistant about going, which again, with each passing week, it's getting a little bit better. They're wonderful. They're patient and working with him, which is great.
And we'll
but it's
cover
still
that.
getting back to all of
Yeah.
this. And then having ABA and having to go through all those questions again and having that brought back to light, all of the things that Bryce has quote unquote never done that he should have done. That's taken an emotional toll on me.
When they did the assessment.
Yeah. And all this has happened in the past 3 weeks. That's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. It's been quite a ride, but I feel like it's all coming to a plateau now, and should be getting better here. So anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, see, that's why I have to unload. Because that kind of stuff right there will weigh you down.
Yes.
And I try to keep a very positive perspective, and I can do that. That's one of my gifts, but also one of my things that I intentionally try to do is I try to spin something positive out of something negative because, I don't want to dwell in the negative. But I do believe that today I really wanted to go a little deeper into that because I have been having a lot of emotions. And, again, I feel like I am the eternal optimist. I try to always look at
You
everything
are.
from a positive perspective
And you do.
for the most part,
Yeah.
but yet I can also fall into the traps that can steal your joy. And one of those traps is comparison. And I think anytime you start comparing your child to someone else, that will set you up to steal your joy.
Someone else's child.
Someone else's child,
Yeah.
or comparing him to another child.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say to someone else. Yes, that can steal your joy. And I'll go deeper into that, but that's definitely something that's weighing on my mind. And then it's, I keep thinking about all these emotions that I'm feeling. And I was thinking about, the stages of grief that we go through. And there's really 5 stages of grief. And sometimes you think you're through all 5 of those stages, and then something else will happen that takes you right back to where it feels like you're back to a prior stage that you had previously conquered. And I feel like I need to share this because there's a lot of people that listen to us, and I know this because they reach out to me, and they're new to this autism world. They may have got their diagnosis 6 months ago. Maybe they got it 6 weeks ago. But usually by the time they will find us, they're looking for resources, they're 3 to 6 months into this journey, and they're looking for the same encouragement we were looking for and the same hope that we were looking for. And I'm sure they're still in those stages of probably coming out of denial and trying to accept it and get the help that they need.
Yeah, I think there is a lot of stress with that. And I think after you get the label of ASD, Autism Spectrum Disorder, I think the parents get the label of PTSD, Post-Traumatic Stress Disorder. You will hear that a lot among autism parents. And it is stressful, and we do the symptoms feelings we experience are very similar to those people that have gone to war and they come home with PTSD.
Yeah. And, and it's clearly been defined that it's a spectrum. And, some say it's mild, some say it's severe, some say it's, in between moderate. everybody is somewhere on that, but it doesn't, everybody's got their own level of stress and their own issues to deal with. So just because, again, the whole comparison thing, you could compare either way. Okay, my child seems to be doing better in that department, yay, but my child seems to be doing worse in that department, boo, but you can't get hung up on that. You just got to focus on your child and where you're at in your journey as much as you can. But we're human, and so naturally we go into the comparison. And I will share where specifically it kind of set me back was Bryce just celebrated his 6th birthday this month on October 5th. And I think that affected me more than I thought that it would. And it really has to do with the fact that I'm not saying that I've been in denial, because I haven't been in denial that Bryce has autism. I'm the one that initially thought there was something wrong. I pursued it, didn't know it was autism, but we figured it out. We've, immediately done everything that we can to help him through this. I openly talk about it. Obviously, I have a podcast, so I'm not too shy about it. And it's part of me. It's part of my identity now, which is perfectly fine. And I embrace our autism community because I feel like God has placed us in this community for reasons that we don't even understand that are bigger than us. I really do. And I think they're yet to be revealed. But I do think that there was a little bit of denial in me that I had to process through the past couple of weeks, that when Bryce was first diagnosed, we were told immediately by his neurologist that he had, and I'm in air quotes here, mild autism. Okay, so when you hear quote unquote mild autism, you think, okay, it can't be that bad, because you've heard of mild, moderate, and severe. So my expectations, and it's all about expectations, because when you set them, you're setting yourself up for potential disappointment. But my expectations were that, okay, we caught this early and we're going to rock through this. And I know that the human brain changes the most when they're ages 2 to 5, up to that 6th year. And we got to get all this now while his brain is still developing, because we knew that even from his stroke when he was first born, that he had time to rewire. He had time for his brain to continue to change. Well, I feel like I was kind of set up by well-meaning people telling me he's going to be fine. He's going to be fine. He's doing great. He's going to be fine. So when you hear that, you embrace that, because we're looking for hope, right? And so, you grab that hope, and that's what gets you through day to day and week to week and month and year to year. So when he turned 2, when he was 2, it really wasn't noticeable except to us. People even thought we were crazy. And we're like, no, it's real. Yeah. When he turned 3, it became a little more apparent if you had him side by side in a group of peers. But you could still be like, it wasn't glaring. 4 years old, okay, starting to see it a little bit more, but he's progressing, and again, he's mild. He's going to catch up. Hey, he made it through VPK with a typical classroom, and he graduated, and that was huge. Yay, right? We're rolling. Then he turned, and that's when he was 4 to 5, and now we're like, okay, we're going to go for this, because he's going to continue to develop at this pace and surprise us all, and we put him in kindergarten in a mainstream classroom with the support, and all the reports are he's doing great, he's doing wonderful, smiley face, smiley face, smiley face, and then boom, he's not quite making it, and it really wasn't with much warning at all. It was like within days, we're going to need to put him into an autism unit. We have to take him out. We have to homeschool him. He turned 6 years old, and he's not where I guess I thought he would be when he was 6.
I think because one thing that affected you was that when we had his small party, because, when you have autism, you have some friends, but parties don't go over too well sometimes. So we had one of his little friends over. And,
that did affect me.
Yeah. And he was very excited for Bryce, and he wanted to help Bryce open the presents, and acting more typical of a child of his age, and Bryce was, he wasn't too excited about opening the gifts, but he never shows too much excitement.
Well,
you could just tell he wasn't.
You're nailing it. What really got me was his birthday party. He was excited about his party. He knew he was having a birthday party. This was the first time he anticipated having a birthday party. He wanted rocket ship theme, and we got that on his cake, and all of that was great. He even gave everybody permission to sing happy birthday to him.
When he ran into the bedroom.
He had to be in the other room, and you had to sing it through the door, but hey, he was okay with that. Yeah. And he was doing great, and I'm so glad we had his little friend over because, for the first time, Bryce really does have a friend.
Yeah.
And we're trying to really help him understand how to be a friend because it does not come natural to him. Mm-hmm. Even though he loves his little friend, he still doesn't really know how to interact with him, in ways that we can still teach him. But having said that, I did definitely see that his buddy was showing the excitement that was probably in Bryce, but it wasn't coming out. And it was sweet. I mean, I remember he pulled out the gift that was the gun with the bubbles that comes out. And he's like, oh, you would have thought it was $1,000 present, and it was probably a $10 gun, just the excitement. He goes, oh, this is going to be so much fun. And then Bryce, his big gift that he got was an astronaut outfit. And if you follow us on Facebook or Instagram, I posted pictures of him in it because we were taking him to Kennedy Space Center to take his pictures because that's his favorite place to go. So when he opened up his astronaut outfit, we really thought he was going to react in an excited way to that. But instead, I saw his whole demeanor change. It was almost like I thought he was actually overwhelmed because there was a lot going on, and it was just our family and a couple of friends we consider like family, like his caregivers. But it fills our house. It's still loud. A solid 20 people and a lot of voices going on. So I thought at this point, okay, he's overwhelmed. And I even said, I think he's checking out. This is a little too much for him, and that's okay. So Michael, he carried it on, and Bryce didn't want to blow out his birthday candles because he's afraid of the fire and getting too close. So Michael was, awesome. And he went and blew it out twice. And it was so cute. It really was. And everybody enjoyed watching that. And everybody there understands Bryce and the situation and found it to be adorable. But for me, I couldn't help but compare that that's how I would have hoped that Bryce would react, I guess I should say. But it's okay that he didn't. We love Bryce, and actually the way that he reacted is kind of so sweet in his world, because now we figured out the next day that the reason why he got that look on his face and we thought he checked out, he was actually very concerned and in very deep thought, and it wasn't because of the crowd. It was because he thought that now that he had an astronaut outfit, he had to leave to go to the moon. He thought he was leaving us because when I said, do you want to you want to be an astronaut, put on your outfit? No, can't go to the moon. Can't go to the moon right now. I can't. So we had to explain to him, just because you put your outfit on, you will not go to the moon. You'll be safe and you'll stay here with mommy and daddy and it'll be okay. So, I mean, and so me, that is the sweetest, because that is Bryce. He has such sweet innocence in his own way. So while Michael had the sweet innocence of the excitement of gifts and opening the presents, Bryce has this sweet innocence of taking things literally, like, oh no, I have an astronaut outfit and I have to go to the moon on the rocket ship. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it made my mind start to go down a path of thinking and, kind of having to deal with a little more reality, that it's a couple of, the reality that Bryce is Bryce, which I love that. But Bryce is not where I thought he was going to be when he turned 6 years old. And it's wonderful that he can talk. And I know, again, there are lots and lots of children at his age, 6 years old, on the spectrum that don't have any language at all. You know, they have to use a picture system or some type of device, or they don't even have the cognitive ability to communicate anything. I get that. I do. And I'm so, so grateful for where Bryce is. But I don't think it hurts any less when I think about where he could be and where I thought he would be when he was 6 years old.
Yeah.
Definitely before he was diagnosed, I thought he would be one place. But even after he was diagnosed, I still had other expectations.
Yes, I feel like the year that we missed the speech and OT did not help us, because when our insurance changed, he lost those therapies for that year. So I feel like he probably could be ahead of where he is now. And I think I was a little upset when the school came to us and said, hey, you know, Bryce isn't keeping up in kindergarten. You know, he's very distracted and blah, blah, blah. And here they are at the end of last year. We had this IEP meeting and they said, oh, well, let's cut his OT back to 30 minutes a week because he's doing so well with his motor skills and everything like that. And he's meeting all his goals. And, you know, we'll keep his 60 minutes a week for speech/language, you know, because he still needs that. And I'm thinking to myself, well, yeah, well, he's like 2 or 3 years behind. I think he needs that and more. But they didn't want to give him any more than that. And then...
well, and I think their reasoning for that is because they don't want to take him away from classroom time for his education in kindergarten.
Well...
I know.
Whatever.
Trust me, I know.
You know, so it wasn't... You know, I don't know why they couldn't do it after school or whatever. Because when kindergarten came along and we're a month into it, and they say, oh, he's not making it. Well, okay, so we're going to homeschool. And homeschooling has turned out to be one of the biggest blessings that we've even encountered on this journey. Yeah.
So, you know, the past 3 weeks with all of this that's gone on, I have to say, you have found your purpose. You have been so happy. It's kind of funny because here I'm like all wallowing in my sorrow somewhere. But seriously, watching you be so happy and fulfilled and, you know, finding your purpose, being Bryce's teacher. Believe me, I am so, so thrilled with this. And I was watching you guys today because I get home early on Fridays, so I get to observe, which is exciting for me. And so I was like stepping back and watching you guys do your thing. And I thought to myself, you know, it's a blessing, really. I want to really focus on here's how I go from something that takes me down in the dumps, you know, takes me down that path to coming back to the reality and spinning the positive. I'm glad that we put him in a regular classroom, and I'm grateful that he was able to stay in for the 6 weeks that he did, 4 to 6 weeks. I don't know how long it was. It wasn't very long, maybe 5. So anyway, but that gave him the opportunity to sit in a classroom and understand how a classroom works. Because think about if he didn't go to school at all, not even last year where he had it on a smaller scale at the preschool, you know, but he has had that opportunity to see how a classroom environment works, to know what's expected of him. He just needed the change of you being able to be there and give him one-on-one, because we know he needs that. He wants to learn. He loves to learn. He wants to keep going. But you also get to do these other things for him that would never be permitted in school, and I understand why. But Bryce needs to take breaks in between the little lessons that he's doing to play run tickle, you know, run your circles. Yeah. And that's part of the ADHD. He gets that chance to get all that energy out, and it's a reward for him to look forward to. So he knows in his mind, if I get to this, and you can push him a couple more ticks beyond what he's thinking, then I get to run and play with Daddy. And then once he gets done with a couple of laps, he goes right back to doing the next assignment. It's a beautiful thing to watch.
Where did we leave off last episode on the homeschool front?
I don't even know.
Okay.
I think that it had just started. I really do. I think we were like 1 week into it.
So he had said, "I love you, Daddy."
Yes.
We mentioned that.
We did mention that.
So
yes.
He is so excited about school. The first thing when he wakes up in the morning, he says, "Okay, Daddy, I'm ready for Daddy's school," and there has been so many blessings that came with homeschooling. And I encourage anyone out there, this is our experience, but gosh, it's been such a blessing for us. If you're having trouble in public school or private school and your kiddo needs one-on-one and you're able to provide that to them, don't be afraid of homeschooling. I was a little bit scared in the beginning because I didn't know, what
we were both
curriculum we're going to do,
And how would Bryce do? We really didn't know.
Right. But we got encouragement from our friends. I think we mentioned that last episode too. But listen, now Bryce is getting a full night's sleep. That's first blessing is he's getting the sleep that he needs before he's being taught. So he's not being woken up at the crack of dawn and shuttled into a car over to a school where there's a lot of kids and a lot going on, sensory overload, with the possibility of a fire drill, and I don't know if we
didn't mention what he said about,
but the week number 2 of homeschooling, he told us, his school was dangerous, and that was huge. He just mentioned it out of the blue.
Yeah, he
I
just
didn't
mentioned
even
it.
ask him about it.
It was just a random comment, and he said that school is danger. And he didn't elaborate because we don't know what else. But in his mind, he didn't feel safe anymore.
And we had no idea because he would always get out of the car, go into the classroom like a good boy.
Yep.
And there was never any clue to us that he felt that way, and bless his heart, he must have had so much anxiety. And we could tell after the first week of homeschool how relieved he was to be home and learning and out of the public school system. I mean, it was just, he's like almost like a different child. The joy that he has, the happiness that he has, that he can't explain to us, but we can see it. It's
He thanks you repeatedly.
He does.
I mean, like, he literally will thank you for doing homeschool.
Yeah.
And he did tell you the one and only time, "I love you, Daddy.
Yeah.
I love you," because he was so happy about homeschool. And even on the weekends, he'll want to do homeschool, but we really want him to understand that there are breaks.
Yeah.
So we give him breaks on Saturday and Sunday, but he'll wake up and want to start and do more daddy school.
Yeah.
So it's so well received, and I don't think it's just a honeymoon period. Obviously, as the grades get older, it may become a little more challenging.
Yeah.
But it's not just because it's a newness. It's because he feels relief to his anxiety. And I think when he's telling us, again, this is a lot of guesswork because he can't elaborate on his thoughts about danger. But I really think that he was starting to feel the intensity of the expectations of him to be able to get his schoolwork done.
Right.
And that he couldn't. And I think he knew that he wasn't able to do what was expected of him. And he's a pleaser. So he doesn't want to disappoint anybody. He doesn't want to upset anybody. And I could see how that could make him feel like he wasn't safe because he couldn't do what they needed him to do.
And listen, like when I'm teaching him at the desk and he gets something right or does something great, learns something new, I celebrate it with him. And sometimes he'll get out of his seat so he can stand up and flap because he's so happy. But I know in a public school environment, that would be a no-no. And they would tell him to sit down.
And understandably so. You can't have every child standing up doing that. Right.
But when you have a kid on the spectrum, that's how they release that. That's how they express it.
Does.
And that's how he does it. And he can do that here, and
I mean, every child's different, so that's
Yeah.
why I said that's how Bryce does it, because I don't know
Yeah.
how every child on the spectrum does. But for Bryce, when he's excited, he needs
Yeah.
to jump up and down. It's hard for him to repress that.
So anyway, we started out with the public school curriculum, and it was a lot of table work, and Bryce was doing it. He was doing good, but I felt like he might understand things and learn better if he had an online curriculum. And so...
Is that because he's visual?
Yeah, he loves his iPad. He's a visual learner, I think. And I think things just make more sense to him when he sees them rather than trying to get something out of a book or something that's on a paper, which we're still doing. But
I was going to say, so
Yeah.
I want to interject just a moment, but if you finish your thought, but I want to go back to that.
So I did my research. Up until that point, we were following the public school curriculum, which was, the lessons are online, but the way they have it, it's kind of like when you're looking for activities and the lesson plan and all this, you go down a rabbit hole.
There's a lot of legwork.
And there's like, the more you go down the hole, there's more turns you take to get to other places that lead you to 10 more turns. And it's very confusing, but Sandy, she helped out by going down the rabbit hole and putting together my week for me, which was a huge help. But it was sometimes confusing to me because she read it and put it together, and sometimes I wouldn't understand it. And it was a lot of material, and it wasn't jiving, I guess. And so I looked into the online curriculums. I asked around some of our groups, and what I finally landed on was Time for Learning. And I think it's time, the number 4, and learning.com. And so that is mostly a visual curriculum starting, I think they even have pre-K on there. And what I like about it is you have online and offline. So Bryce, it's a combination. So Bryce will go through the online lessons, and then we'll have, desk work to do for the other part of the lesson. And then he can go back and take a quiz online. So we're still getting our writing in. We're still practicing problems on paper. But I would say half of our day is online and half is offline.
Yes.
So it really works great for him and for me, and it's all laid out. So I can calculate, you put in the start date of your school and the end date of the school, and it calculates how many lessons that you have to do per day. And it's just right up my alley because I need that structure to work with. I
can tell that this has been better for you because, week 1 was chaos. Let's just call it what it was. Week 2, when I put it together, I was asking you, will this help you? And then I ended up breaking it down by day and clipping it all together. Mm-hmm. And that was better.
That helped. Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I can kind of see what you need there, but you got to find some type of curriculum that's going to spell this out and works for you and fits your teaching style. And so finding this has been great. I was really, it's like one of those things that this is, again, your calling and it's your job and it's wonderful. So I kind of, we had that talk of, okay, I'm not trying to take control of this because it's not my place to take control of this, but I'm here to help you and guide you. But you're driving the bus.
Right.
And I don't want to take the wheel because I have that personality that I could.
And I knew you wanted to help. And that's why I was like, well, if you want to help, you can do the background for me for the week. And, that would work.
But this week, I didn't even have to do that, which is perfectly
fine.
No,
and it saves you a lot of time.
It kind of does, which has helped.
Yeah.
And I'm here, obviously, to help. And actually, I find that my role now coming home is I can see the papers that you've got, that you guys have been working on. And you are the teacher. So just as before, I would want to communicate with Bryce's teacher and tell them what I would like to see them work on for him. Because, again, who knows their child best? Their parents. you're looking through a teacher lens, I'm looking through a mommy lens. So it can be different.
Yeah.
And so when you were saying, okay, I'm going to be doing all this video with him, that's great. Because I agree, he's responsive to videos. He loves clicking the mouse. And that is our generation these days. Everything is very virtual and online and, but I do not want him to lose those skills of writing. And it's hard for him to grip a pencil. So trust me.
We're still working on that.
He would choose a mouse over a pencil any day of the week. But it's important for life in general.
And I
don't want to take that away from him.
The more I've worked with him with the pencil,
the
less resistance I'm getting now. He's starting to enjoy the pencil. And
well, you went through the efforts of getting him a pencil grip that would make it more comfortable for him. I mean, you're taking those extra steps because, again, you know him best and you see what's going on and you're giving him the tools to help him strengthen that. But, it's those little things that can get missed when he's a toddler and when he is 5, 6, 7 years old. If we don't work on his grip now, that's going to affect him as a teen and as an adult. And I've seen that with other people that I've known as they've gotten older. So I'm so grateful that he started out in the school classroom because that was totally meant to be to help prepare him and really kind of prepare us for knowing that, hey, we tried. We'll never have to second guess whether we tried, but we know this is best for him. But it's not a coincidence. To me, it's God's divine timing that immediately the day after we take him out, his therapies began again. And he got the therapy that he really needs for occupational therapy, which is not just school-based, but core-based. And they're working on his physical motor skills.
They have a gym.
You know, they're doing things that he would never get there at the public school and would have been hard to work into his schedule going to school from 8 in the morning until 3:30 in the afternoon. And then we got the ABA back, which is going to start next week. And that he hasn't had for a year. And again, you're right. Because he has missed all of this for a year, in the prime time of where your brain is still able to process, I do believe it hasn't set him back. It just prevented him from moving as far forward as he had the potential to do if he had those supports in place. That's what I think. We'll never know. But, you know, there's some things that it's obvious. But that's okay. It's happened. You can't clean up spilt milk. You know, it's done. So,
a couple other advantages of homeschooling just off of the top of my head is you know your child best. So you quickly learn where their deficits are when you're teaching them. And I can see even from this curriculum that a couple of things are above his thinking right now. So I have the ability to go back and kind of start over on whatever topic that is to help him. Whereas if he was in a public school class, a regular class, or even some other class, would the teacher stop and, start at the beginning for Bryce? Probably not. You can only do that when you're one-on-one with them. And, yesterday, part of homeschooling is it opens your eyes to teaching at every available opportunity. So yesterday morning, we got up, we went through our morning routine. Lo and behold, we get a knock at the door. It's the city. They're coming through to trim the trees away from the power lines. And I'm like, okay, no problem at all. The guy closes the door, drives the truck away, and then bang, the light bulb goes off in my head. Let's go watch them trim the trees away from the wires, So the guy pulled around back and he was in a big bucket truck which Bryce liked, so he came up in the truck. It kind of looked like a crane. And he was over there cutting the limbs off, and it was an electric chainsaw, so it wasn't loud. He didn't need his headphones, but I did put his hard hat on him, which was very cute. You'll see on our Facebook page.
Actually, I put it on Facebook and Instagram. Parenting Autism.
So I was able to tell him, we need to trim the tree branches away from the power lines because that's where electricity is and that could cause a fire if they touch, so he understood all that. And then today I took him out back and I showed him where they had finished the job and the power lines that came from the power company. They went to the pole, and then they went from the pole to our house. And then when he was inside taking his bath, I pointed to the light and I said, the wires come all the way into the house, and that's where the light comes on.
I love it.
So
yeah,
it's teachable.
And he processes all of that.
Yeah, he processes that.
I mean, his little brain is like going to download that info.
Yeah, it's awesome. So
it was really cute. I thought, because you videoed some of that for me, which I so appreciate. And the fact that he had empathy for the tree.
He did.
He was very concerned about the branches falling.
Put them back up.
They're falling down. Hang them up.
Hang them back up.
So, it was really cute that's how his little mind was working was, we better put him back so it's back, it's all better. So anyway. So it's been a little bit of a challenge lately. I'm sharing this too because so many of us, we've been on this, like you and I, we've been on this journey now for 3.5 years. Yeah, it's already been 3.5 years.
Yeah.
And, at certain times you hit plateaus and you're rolling along and you're in your day-to-day routine. And yes, we have new things that keep emerging, especially with his anxieties, and that sort of thing. But I think emotionally there's going to be times that you think you've made it through and then something else happens and you're like, there's a little setback. But don't get over discouraged by that because it's just life and it's the way things go, and you just got to find that positive and keep going and pushing through. Yeah, so I know I had started out this podcast saying we were going to kind of talk about the 5 stages of grieving. But I'm not sure that I really hit them all. And maybe that's another time we'll do it in the podcast. The 5 stages really are denial, because first you're in denial, which I said I kind of wasn't, but yet I think in the beginning I wasn't, but maybe I was, because I thought Bryce was going to do better than he has done to this point. That's my denial. Anger is the next one, and I can't say that I don't have an anger personality. It takes a lot to make me angry. And even if I do get angry, I'm over it very shortly. Yeah. That's not my personal vice. I get more sad than I do angry, but I know that's the next stage.
I think angry, I can relate to angry in the sense that
you did experience anger, actually.
If he's not getting the services that he needs and there's something stopping that, I can get.
Yeah, and you were very angry about, well, I don't want to get into the depths of it, but you were angry when he was first diagnosed that this happened, and you were angry about the shots and all of that sort of thing. So I think you had some anger that you processed, that you had to get through because it's part of the grieving process. We all have different things we can get really upset about. And then the next one is bargaining, and sometimes I've heard about that, especially if you're bargaining with God, well, if you do this, I'll do that. Or, people kind of grieve with that, especially, it just happens. I don't know that I went into a bargaining phase of it. If I did, it's so brief, I don't remember it.
Yeah.
But the depression part, we definitely went through.
Yep.
And I think, for real, we have a whole episode about this if you haven't listened to it, but we definitely went through the path of depression with Chris experiencing it while I was on the outside trying to help him through it. And while I didn't feel depressed these past few weeks, it wasn't a clinical depression that required reaching out and getting help. I can tell you that there were a couple of days in a row that I felt so deeply sad that I felt like there was nothing I could do to bring me out of that sadness for a couple of days. That's the extent of my depression that I felt after this whole turning 6 birthday, not making it in school kind of wave kind of came over me. But, that was short-lived. And then it's acceptance, which is next. And so thankfully, I go through those steps quickly. And even the past few weeks, I feel like I walked through those steps.
Yeah.
And maybe there was a little anger in the sense that I was like, well, why didn't they tell me that he was having problems? Right. Why did they keep saying he's doing great and wonderful and giving me smileys? That was probably the extent of my anger. Like, why? Why didn't they just tell me? I can handle it. But I think they didn't really know, and they were hoping for the best, So there was definitely all of that I just went through in a whirlwind fashion, where sometimes it takes people months or years to work through these. But I don't think it'll be the last time that I will probably go through some of these stages on this journey, because you just don't know what lies ahead of you.
We have a long way to go.
And we have a long way to go.
I'm in the acceptance phase.
I'm definitely there.
After we got him out of school and he told me he loved me, I totally accepted that.
That made him,
and now I'm one day at a time. I don't try to look into the future, and I don't look back at the past. Each day is a present.
Give me a high five on that.
Yeah, come on.
Yes, because that is where we have to be. Yeah, we're always looking ahead, and we're setting goals for him. And we're in the process right now of actually writing out goals for him and putting them up so we see them. But we're not missing out in the present time and enjoying Bryce for who he is. Because, I'm not
going to put expectations on Bryce now.
You shouldn't.
I'm in the acceptance phase. I don't feel like I need to expect him to have a regular, normal conversation by the time he's 7 or whenever. Put a date on it. I'm not going to put expectations on him, because he is his own person. He learns at his own pace.
Yes.
And I'm here to teach him, and I'm excited to be able to do that and see him progress at his in his time frame. You know what I mean?
I do.
And that's all we can do for him.
And I think getting to this point is a big victory for us, because it's going to make life better for us, and in turn it's going to make life better for him, because he deals with enough anxiety without feeling the pressure of expectations that aren't realistic for him.
I mean,
because he does still sense that.
Right.
And I know he does.
I think every mom and dad in the back of their mind is always thinking, what's going to happen when they turn 18 and they graduate? If they graduate, what's are they going to be able to live on their own?
Right.
I can't think about that.
No.
I don't want to think about that. And I don't really care about that now, because Bryce is his own person. He's going to advance at his rate of advancement. And when that 18th birthday day comes, I'll be there. And it'll be one day out of the year.
And maybe he'll blow out his candle.
Maybe.
And if he doesn't, that's okay.
That's okay too. I'm just...
It's acceptance.
It's acceptance.
You're there.
Yeah.
And, I had shared this with you as well. I had heard in a movie that what I got out of it was this person was out in space, and he had all this beauty around him, but he was so focused on finding extraterrestrial life, I can't say that right, ET as you call it, that he was totally missing all of the beauty that surrounded him. And I said, wow, that just makes me think about this world of autism, because as parents, we can easily be so focused on what we want to see that isn't there, that we miss all the beautiful things that are there that we can see and we can enjoy. But if we don't accept where we are, and if we don't intentionally focus on those things and keep looking for what isn't there right now, then we're going to miss out, and shame on us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And you know what I love about homeschool is I get to celebrate every little tiny victory with him. When he learns how to spell a word, I'm there cheering him on. He might have done that in the public school setting, and I would have never even known that. The teacher at the kindergarten level really doesn't communicate,
because she's got 23 kids that she can't.
And so, I can't ask Bryce when he comes home, what'd you learn in school today? He can't tell me. But being with him every day,
I know.
It's like I could have fireworks and balloons every day here. It's just so exciting.
I can see it. I feel it in your spirit. It's beautiful. When I get home early enough to watch it, it's awesome. So,
yeah.
Well, thank you, everyone who tuned in today. If this is your first time finding us, we want to say welcome and thank you. And my husband is telling me to hurry it up because Bryce is about to bust through the door. But we would hope that you would subscribe and follow us. And if you want to go back and hear our first episode, you'll hear our whole story. And we have 26 others that you guys can listen to. But here he comes. And sorry, I'm probably not going to make it. Come here, Bryce.
Please come sing. Get the alphabet song.
Here, come talk us out. He wants you to sing the alphabet song. Come here.
Let's try, Daddy. On your iPad.
Can I sing it with you here?
Try on your iPad.
A, B,
One time.
C.
One time.
Try on your iPad.
I will.
Bryce,
but you have to sing it here.
One time here. Come here.
You have to
On
sing
my
it
lap.
one time.
C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, N, N, O, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z.
Now
I know my ABCs. Next time, won't you sing with me?
It's time for Run
Oh, it's time for Run Tickle.
Go! All right.
We're out of here.
We're out of here. Have a great week.
See ya.